Do 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 do. First person to guess that song wins a cookie, everybody, and welcome. And also, happy Thursday evening. It's 8 p.m. It's nice and late. We're talking snow. Let me mute myself so you don't hear me do the sound all over again. Sorry. But yeah, first person to guess that song. What song is it? Let's see. Anyone got it? We're not starting until somebody knows what song that is, until everyone likes the stream. And it has nothing to do with snow. It's just what was just playing in the background before I started this. It was my hype song of the night. See if anybody knows. It's an 80s song. Who's got it? Who's got it? It's an 80s song. Come on, I'm sure plenty of you were alive. Yep, Duran Duran. There you go. Hungry Like the Wolf. Duran Duran. See how good my singing skills are? Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran, everybody. That's what it was. And I'm hungry like the wolf, hungry for some snow, and that's what we're talking about tonight. See, this is, Trump talks about the weave. That's what I just did, but I did the weather version of the weave, everybody. I just went from Duran Duran, hungry like the wolf, into snow. That takes skill. Not really. But anyway, yeah, we're talking snow tonight. So obviously it's the talk of the town. It's the talk of the East Coast. Potential for southern snow. We've got potential for mid-Atlantic snow, Northeast snow. We've already had Midwest snow, Great Lakes snow going on. So it's going to be an active couple of days ahead. And yeah, it should be interesting times. Once again, I've got BGWX with me tonight. I'll bring him in here in just a moment, but I want to give everyone time to go ahead and like the stream. Share it with a family member. Let me know where you're watching from, and I'll read some of these comments and see where everyone is. And then we'll go over all the model data. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of doom and gloom going on right now in the weather world because some of the models trended back closer, more out to sea today, at least for the Southeast. I'd argue they maybe trended slightly better for the Northeast, actually, at least coastal sections of the Northeast. But folks, we got time to go. This is a Sunday storm. It's only Thursday now, and I may be young and only almost 22 now, but I have been alive long enough to see many a Northwest trends at the last second. So that's why we are continuing to monitor this. And I still think there's plenty good chance that many people down in the Southeast at least see some flakes fly at the very least. So let's see. We got people watching in Boston. We got Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina. Hopefully I said that right first time. And we've got Durham. I said Boston. We got some Georgia in the chat. We got Montgomery. Well, snow in Montgomery. I'm assuming you mean Montgomery, Alabama. Not a guarantee, but possible in Montgomery. We'll talk about it. So yeah, we've got some folks watching from all over the place. We got Georgetown, South Carolina. Been stuck in Georgetown actually storm chasing before. It was December cane a couple years ago. Everything got flooded out, and I was stuck between one flooded road and another for a while, but got out of there all right. Chesapeake, Virginia. I've also been in Chesapeake, Virginia before, snow chasing, although did not get stuck there, luckily. Got a couple Fort Mill, South Carolinas in here. We've got some Chapel Hill. We've got some Charlotte. We've got some Ohio. We've got some Waynesboro, Virginia. Wanting a blizzard in East Tennessee, Savannah says. Well, might have to wait. I don't think this will be your storm for a blizzard in East Tennessee, but plenty of winter to go. Bennett, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Virginia Beach, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Asheville, Dallas, Georgia. We got folks from all over the world. Love it. All right. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on in BGWX. Brady, welcome back. It's great to have you. And also, Brady, if you could post the link again, because I completely forgot to pin it. So sorry. Oh, wait, no, I lied. I see it. I found it. I'm going to pin something in the chat, everybody. This is Brady's channel. He is a longtime guest on the channel now. This is hardly his first rodeo with me, but we're happy to have him. And Brady, if you'd like to go ahead and once again reintroduce yourself for anyone who is new here and kind of talk about what you specialize in and where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure I specialize in anything, but I like to think that I'm okay. I'm at least a little okay at it. But yeah, so again, some of you know my channels, BGWX. Maybe you've seen me on X before as well. But if not, you're gonna learn a little bit what I do. It's just basically similar to Gerald, but I probably go a little bit more in depth and go a little bit more into the meat And especially I specialize a little bit more into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as well because that's where I'm from. I'm from Massachusetts. Shout out to anybody from New England in here right now. But that is kind of where I specialize. And if you love learning, the inside behind the forecast, what all the, potential different scenarios are and why it might happen, if you're really obsessed with that, I'm kind of your spot. So I appreciate everybody in here. But I also forecast for if you're from the South, central US as well, really whole eastern half of the US. So appreciate you having me on, Gerald.
Yes, and we're very lucky to have you. In fact, Brady just passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Isn't that right? Just happened recently.
That's correct. It's pretty much
Yeah.
it's much thanks to you in sending some of your awesome supporters my way. So I appreciate that very, very much and excited we have something to track here. Anytime we're on a stream, there's usually something brewing that we at least have to talk about. So excited here for
Yeah.
sure, no doubt.
Absolutely, that we are indeed. And with that said, I guess we can go ahead and get started, folks, and get talking. So next to me is the latest NAM model, and partially I'm showing you this one just because it's the flashing one, and I think who doesn't want to look at a flashing model run every now and then? But I also think that while this is probably overdone in the southeast, at least with snowfall, I do think we're going to trend this direction compared to where a lot of our global models are right now. I think that classic northwest trend is going to kick in. Anytime we get these overrunning events, which is kind of like what this is, you've got cold air kind of trying to spill in, and then you've got precipitation overrunning it, hence the name overrunning event. It's very often that they overperform in terms of overlapping of that precipitation with the cold air for winter weather. So I've seen it all the time down here in the Carolinas. In fact, I'm brought back to last year, if y'all remember, the storm that happened, I want to say it was in January when Myrtle Beach, Charleston, New Orleans, and all got crushed. And it was, crazy southern snow. There was a time right around this point when we were I think it was about 3 days or so in advance, and we lost the storm of the models for the Carolinas. It almost looked like even the beach wasn't going to really see many flakes. It looked pretty cold and dry. And then as we got within a day or two, we really trended things back and we ended up getting, nearly half a foot of snow in parts of the coastal plain of the Carolinas. We had snow falling in Columbia, even had at least some flakes near the Charlotte metro. I think this will trend that way again. Now, I don't think anyone's going to get half a foot or anything into the Carolinas out of this, but I do think we could trend to a sneaky little winter weather event that maybe is more than just festive. Maybe we get some travel impacts and things like that. So that's why I'm starting with the NAM and why I think it's important. As for the Northeast, the NAM here, actually, I think is probably a little far offshore. If anything, I think we've trended today in a really good direction for parts of the coastal New England, especially coastal Mid-Atlantic, Jersey Shore, Delaware, areas like that. This could also be one of those events that sneaks up on you. Some of our AI guidance has hinted that way, and AI models have not done terrible, although they are going to get a bit of a test out of this as they are a bit different, especially in the Northeast compared to some of their operational friends out of this system. So that's kind of a quick little summary of everything. Before we start breaking it all down in depth, Brady, did you want to give a little just kind of quick summary thoughts on the storm ahead before we get into the nitty gritty stuff?
Yeah, I think there's the potential with this event could surprise some people, and I really like the setup in general. And we're going to talk about why. And Gerald and I were talking before. He's got some maps pulled up that I'm going to break down, and I think that for people not just in the southeast but all the way up the East Coast, I think are going to like the potential. Now, there's a little bit of Icarus. You fly too close to the sun here, Gerald. Right? Maybe some places. The Northwest trend can sometimes really overdo itself. So you got to be,
Mm.
there's a little bit of threading the needle, but I think we're going to talk about and show why I think that at least some people like myself and you and I are optimistic, not because we want to be, but because of what kind of some of the uh, puzzle pieces in the atmosphere are telling us, right? It's kind of the best way we can phrase it. What the tea leaves are kind of hinting at potentially. And we may be wrong too, but this is just what we believe at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to make, folks. Obviously, I'm not Nostradamus. I can't see into the future. I'm not even sure if Nostradamus could see into the future. But either way, whenever I say the things I'm saying here, a lot of this is going with gut and past experience. And I'll tell you when that comes in. Whenever I'm showing you something, and I'll say, okay, well, I think maybe this will end up a little bit different than what the models show at this point in time. Is something to note, but. I mean, there's a very real world that what the models show right now are right. I mean, and if that's the case, then this really won't be a whole lot of anything for a lot of folks. But again, the models are never gospel, and that's why you've got to use meteorology over modelology, and that's going to be an important thing to do. And as in terms of the Northwest trend and overrunning events, kind of overperforming compared to model data, this is a hill I'm going to die on until I'm dead. Basically, I mean, we could be at Saturday night, and I'd probably still say, depending on what the models show at that point, obviously that will probably end up more northwest than what the models show. That's just from past experience, from how I know the models have biases or biases, maybe is the better way to pronounce it. I don't know. But it's just a hill that I'm willing to die on. And if I'm wrong, I can accept that. I can live with that because there have been plenty of times I've died on this hill before and it's worked out. So that's going to be something to note. But I will show you this. In terms of snowfall, well, obviously one of the things you need is cold air, and we've already got a big batch of it today, and we are going to get a little bit of a warm up in between, but notice we've had this big shot of Arctic air down into the eastern United States over the past 24 hours or so, and that's not all, folks. If you kind of see here peeking down out of Canada right here at the very end of the loop, another batch of Arctic air is moving south. And it's actually that second one that's going to be the boundary that sets up for this upcoming potential winter storm. And where exactly that sets up and where low pressure rides up it is really the $2 million questions. If I knew exactly what the temperature profile was going to look like on Sunday and exactly what the precipitation shield would look like, then I would have every answer under the sun. But again, we're forecasting the future here, and that's why we just don't quite have all of that yet. But that is going to be a very key component here to getting things right. Now, I did want to start here briefly with the near term, as we normally do, because we are going to get some snow now through Saturday that we need to talk about. And I'll use, you think the HER is fine for this, Brady, or did you have a different model in mind? Because I can switch it out.
I think the NAM and Euro have a pretty good idea, but the HR long range, I hate to make it, but the HR long range is just too unreliable. I think for to give we got to give the people our best accuracy. We already have enough
Absolutely.
troubles. We have enough troubles with that already.
True, very true. All right, so we'll use this one and we'll move ahead into time. So, first of all, in the comments, let me know if you're seeing snow right now. If you're seeing it out there, odds are that you're probably watching somewhere that's shaded in blue on this map right now. The interior Northeast, we've got some snow back out in the Midwest. You've got some snow even into the northern plains. So if you're seeing snow out there right now, definitely let me know down into the comments. Would love to read those and get those answers from all of y'all and all that fun stuff. As we go ahead into time, though, and we're waking up tomorrow morning, notice here comes the beginning of our next system. It's going to start to fire off a bit of a low pressure, probably right over the Great Lakes, maybe right around Lake Superior there as the NAM shows it here. And we could absolutely find some snow tomorrow easily in the morning hours through Wisconsin, much in Michigan, the Chicago metro, northern Indiana, parts of northern Ohio. By the time we're waking up, could even have some leftover snow up here into northern Maine as today's system kind of starts to pull back off up towards maritime Canada for the early part of your Friday. Definitely something to keep in mind there. As you go through Friday afternoon, you can already start to see the beginnings of the setup start to show up here in the models. You've got a pretty well-defined, obviously here's a low pressure, but right here is your front. You can see it's obviously firing up a band of some precipitation, snow potentially in Ohio, down into Kentucky. Maybe even some rain here, excuse me, on the southern end. Sorry about that. I just had dinner not long ago, so I apologize. But this is Friday evening. And then as you go further ahead, it's really a game of the cold air pushing east. Now, remember, we already have a current shot of Arctic air working through. Now, that'll be fleeting for the southeast, where obviously we just warm up quicker than the northeast. But I do think overnight Friday into early Saturday here, since we've already got that cold air in place in the Northeast, we could easily get a burst of snow Saturday very early in the morning for even some higher population areas. Connecticut, much of Massachusetts, down into Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And then I also think some pretty good northwest flow snow into Appalachia from really North Carolina northbound. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised to see some flakes make it into the mid-Atlantic outside of Appalachia, into the Piedmont of Virginia, up into the Chesapeake, the Delmarva. Maybe even some wet snowflakes mixing into the rain down towards Greensboro and the I-40 corridor of North Carolina. And as that's happening, cold air slowly starting to ooze through the valleys of Appalachia. And another thing to note throughout the day Saturday is that we've got more little pieces of energy riding the boundary. Now, I know it's hard to see where the boundary is on this, but actually what I'm going to do is switch us over to, let's see, 2-meter temperature should do us pretty good. And you could probably see, yeah, right here. So here we go. Saturday afternoon. You can kind of already see where that boundary is. It's already chilly for everyone, but right here is the Arctic air, and everything to the north, that's where it's cold. And you'll notice as we go throughout the day Saturday and into the night of Saturday, it starts to ooze, and this is as far out as the model goes, is about midnight Saturday going into Sunday. But you can already see that Arctic boundary, or kind of that rain snow line, excuse me, boundary setting up for sure there during the overnight of Saturday. As that's happening and as it's continuing to push east, we're going to likely get little upper level short waves, as we call it, or just little kinks in the flow that allow rising motion in the atmosphere to kind of work along that boundary. And that's why you're getting these kind of on and off bursts of snow and snow showers through the northern mid-Atlantic, through the Northeast. Heck, check it out. The NAM has snow showers and maybe even a burst of snow, you could call it, through Philly, Trenton, New York City, up through the Hudson Valley, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Boston tries to get some snow into the down east areas of Maine. And that looks like a pretty common theme here for much of Saturday into Sunday. Brady, would you like to expand on that, especially up into the Northeast, where I know that you've been tracking this setup for about a week or so now, it seems like?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if anybody's been following my videos, it's been about 8 days I've been mentioning that we could have that. Yes, we had a storm this week but I thought the better margin for error was the one this weekend here. And I think that's kind of revealing itself here. I mean, obviously interior Northeast got slammed pretty good with some good snow, but obviously it wasn't I-95. And so with this one here, though, Saturday's a bit of a precursor, and it's very interesting, Gerald. When you play that loop, you notice the precip offshore, kind of what it's doing. You see how it's like almost feeding into what's happening there, and that's very intriguing. Look at the moisture pull of the overrunning snow that happens here, and it's already showing the dig that we have in our jet stream. And Gerald, if you don't mind showing an upper level jet for a second there, it should be available on. If it's not 3K, 12K, we'll have it.
I'm sorry, might have to go to 12K NAM for
Well,
that.
I
Let's
know I
see.
know the
Let's just go.
12K has it. If it has
And
the
you
upper
want
level jet.
250
Oh
wind?
yeah, perfect, perfect.
Okay.
And you see right there, Gerald, your meteorology.
I
I'm
do.
sure those alarm bells go off a little bit, right? The jet streak
Woo.
overhead, that jet streak parallel with the upper level energy is a good sign, even if minimally, for slantwise convection potentially. And so that could allow for that overrunning precip to allow some pretty solid bands to develop into the Northeast, especially. And there could be a chance Saturday for a 1 to 3, 3 to 6 areas. Some areas maybe a little bit less. It's like a coating to an inch, maybe further south, and maybe some places closer to that mix line, wherever that sets up. So that'll be something to watch, probably close to the I-95 corridor. We'll see. Maybe New York City can be just on the other side of that. Same with some places in Connecticut, but maybe farther southeastern New England, across the Cape Cod, and far southeastern Massachusetts may deal with a little bit of mix. That's certainly possible. But into that region there, across that jet streak, there is certainly an opportunity for a good burst of snow, and especially a little bit of elevation due to temperatures not being super cold quite yet in the system. That could allow for, at least several inches of snow in some places. And this is just the precursor, right? This is part one of the event, Gerald, here. This isn't the main
Mm.
show potentially here, if we are to convert the main show. And this could allow for some places that are able to get the best of both worlds are really the ones, that double dip a little bit. Those are the places that could get the most snow out of this. So this, for me, Gerald, and maybe for you too, is a really neat mesoscale event here that could surprise some people in terms of like I thought snow was coming tomorrow. I thought that was and then all of a sudden you got this little thing there and you've got 2 to 4 inches of snow just like that. And so
Yeah.
again, higher ceiling in the Northeast in New England with this, but mid-Atlantic places too could get coating to an inch, 1 to 3 inches out of this, especially those elevations along the Appalachians could get some more out of this.
Right, absolutely. And just to kind of do some, let me do a little meteorology lesson here and kind of right in
Cook,
here. So,
Gerald, cook, baby.
um, so if y'all look at this map, this is the jet map that Brady mentioned, and it's a great tool to use. This is a jet streak, as we call it in meteorology. Basically, it's just a corridor of really fast winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And we know from atmospheric dynamics and physics and all these things that I hate calculating, but had to for the past couple of years in the process of getting this degree. We know that there are two corridors of these jet streaks that we have enhanced rising motion in the atmosphere. I have them circled in blue here on the NAM. And notice what happens. Well, that's the upper level map. Here's the surface map. Guess where we have most of the snow happening, or the precipitation, kind of in those pockets of the jet streak that have the rising motion. So always love when the math works out here in meteorology. And that's a great find by Brady to pull that up and mention it. because that is definitely a great tool that I do think Saturday has the potential to give you some surprise front end snow. Like you said, maybe it's one of those things that you're thinking, well, I thought Sunday was a storm. Why am I getting snow now? So definitely the potential for Saturday to be a fun little day there. And I agree with him. Corridors, swaths of 1 to 3 inches. Now, it can be one of those things that, your town maybe doesn't get it. And then, 30, 50 miles south or north or east or west or wherever, that town maybe gets the burst of a couple of inches of snow. It's a setup like that. It's almost snow squall like in that way. But something to keep in mind. Some folks absolutely could get a fun little surprise out of that. Would not shock me at all. So yeah, Brady, I think just because we've already spent a good 20 minutes on that, let's go ahead and start talking about the setup here for the weekend after that. So for the big system potential, if you will, here going into Sunday. So I'll show everyone the kind of setup that's on the way with this. And it's the same overall big piece of energy in the atmosphere that's producing the system there for your Saturday that could potentially produce snow that's going to do the same thing on Sunday, but it's a different part of that mid and upper level system. So you can see here, by the time they're waking up on Sunday, well, let's back it up a little bit. This is overnight Saturday into Sunday. You've got just this big, long, thin, stretched area of vorticity. But at the edge of that, or the very end here of this trough, right here, or kind of the furthest out extent of the digging part of the trough, that's where we have the most lift in the atmosphere. That's where we have what we call CVA, or cyclonic vorticity advection. And that's definitely a very useful tool when forecasting, again, lift in the atmosphere, much like a jet streak. It's just a different tool to use. And you can see here what happens is that digs all the way down to the Gulf. And then the question becomes, how far can it dig and how much can it start to tilt? I've been talking about tilt a ton on the channel here. And again, I'll just give a quick another summary here. Right here, it's very positively tilted, as we say, just meaning it's kind of like this. See how the angle of it looks like this? Well, what it's going to try to do here, once it gets towards the southeast coastline and near the Gulf Stream, it's going to try to turn neutral. See how it goes from very positive to being maybe not completely neutral, but more neutral than it originally was. That process of going from positive to a neutral tilt really helps to bump up the lift in the atmosphere, or the energy. And I imagine maybe the NAM should show it. I'll pull this up on the fly here, and let me go to... let's see, vertical velocity should be pretty good. Maybe 850 millibars just to play it safe. Let's see what this shows, or maybe I'll look like an idiot and this won't matter at all. Yeah, okay, so awesome. So you can see how that works. It's digging, it's grabbing energy up from the Gulf, and that tilt is leading to lift. This is a lift map, basically. So anywhere you see these orange colors and these red colors, and you can see right down there where it is towards the Gulf and up through the southeastern coastline, it's getting a lot of that lift, and it's trying to get something going. And it's doing that right on top of the Gulf Stream, where we already have a very stout temperature gradient. And I'll go ahead and now pull that map up because I know that Brady mentioned using it anyway. So let me find where I hit it here in the toolbox here that we have.
Stealing my thunder here, Gerald. Stealing my thunder.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna toss it here to you in a second. So get ready. This is a classic TV toss, as we call it. So notice we have this temperature gradient here, where that on top of lift above a temperature gradient always is going to be a good recipe for low pressure, because again, you've got it's like a boundary. You've got cold air and warm air. You put lift above it. Lift wants to start to spin here in the northern hemisphere cyclonically, and that starts to rotate the temperatures. That increases the lift again, and it's this positive feedback loop. So Brady, would you like to further build upon that with this map that I know you said you had some details to work with on?
Yeah, so Gerald was kind of, stealing everything I was gonna. No, I'm just kidding. But but he's bringing up a very good point that Gerald and I were talking about before before the stream. I was like, Gerald, we got to show this map. This is, I think, an important part of the storm here, and I think it's what works in favor, right? Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, you just have to go with what the meteorology suggests, right? I posted something earlier tonight that we live in a world, in terms of the weather world, where people like to use models to forecast, and that's fine. You can use them as a tool, but you have to be focused on what's going to happen in reality at the end of the day. Because how many times have you seen what's happened, and you were watching the TV weather, and then all of a sudden you were like, "That is not what happened. That is not what we were. That is not what was discussed
Many
at all."
times.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it ourselves, Gerald. We forecasted something that was not happening, and but just in general, especially, a lot of others do it, and it's this reliance on model guidance. But this is right here, ladies and gentlemen, you can see this is a clear tool we can use. That this is what the atmosphere, it's already happened. This is what it's showing. And so we use this tool here, and because it's helpful analysis to help predict potentially what might actually happen, because we care about the end result. The end result is what very much matters when forecasting weather, but a lot of people get caught up in guidance days out, and that can tend to lead to some bad habits for forecasting. So what you see on that map there is that sea surface temperature gradient, like Gerald was talking about, and there tends to be a gravity, like he was saying, and for that low pressure wants to form near that tightened baroclinic zone, meaning that tighter gradient of sea surface temperatures, the low pressure oftentimes gets drawn to that. And what do you notice about that gradient as well, ladies and gentlemen? You see how it gets pulled up the coast as well. It gets pulled up the coast. That's the key. That gradient will want to ride that. And so I think we're going to get an opportunity for a low pressure system to want to form closer to there versus hundreds of miles out to sea, like you see on some of these model runs here. I think there's a better chance. And then notice there's another gradient to the northeast. That Gulf Stream gradient has faded over the past several days now and this week. And I think there's a chance to almost kind of a handoff, so to say, not literally, but figuratively, to that next gradient there. And I think that is a good pathway potentially for what the storm track could end up looking like. And there's just a little bit of gravity that ends up happening. And I think it also notice Gerald, the Gulf of Mexico, or the Gulf, whatever you want to call it, the
The
Gulf
Gulf of Water.
still has waters that could produce a hurricane in there. You see that? You see how warm some of those
Yeah,
waters
it's
still
mighty
are?
warm.
That is good fuel with a trough that digs that far to suggest that I don't think we're going to be lacking precipitation with this event either. So I think that's another good sign that helps support when you have a warm Gulf to help induce that precipitation to occur. That allows for a good sign to potentially get that low pressure system to form. When you're digging the trough that much, it's going to pull that precipitation in. And I think that's a good sign for places not just in the Mid Atlantic and Northeast, but potentially the Southeast as well. Do you guys remember last year that Gulf Coast snowstorm that produced, like 12 inches of snow in Louisiana? Like, and it, the
And
forecast was like,
produced about 3 flakes in Charlotte. Yeah, I do
yeah,
remember that one
yeah,
actually. Now that you say
Gerald.
it,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for bringing it up, but it was true. A lot of forecasts were like 5 to 8 inches of snow, but you had such warm temperatures in the Gulf that it was able, in such a storm that digs that much, it taps into that, and then that's what
yeah. Mhm.
allows more precip than maybe some model guidance was expected to form. And Gerald, also, I want you to show something else too here. If you don't mind pulling up like a moisture map or just any precipitation map, but be able to show the Caribbean as well potentially as well. Uh,
Like a
y-
model.
Yeah, yeah, just any
Okay.
model guidance here, and I think this will help bring some idea to to what we're
Let's
talking
see
about.
here.
Western Atlantic, perfect.
Yep, on it. On
And
it, Sergeant.
there
Let's
we
see.
go. This is
Oh,
your
I'm too
stream.
far ahead, but there we go. There it is.
You
Is that
see
good?
that pole? You see that pole there? You can play it even a few more frames and you can see the tap of moisture. That's a really deep tap of moisture. It's across the East Pac, the East Pacific, deep into the Gulf, into the Caribbean. And that moisture tap is usually a good fuel for the potential for this system. So we do get the storm to happen here. I don't think we're going to be lacking precipitation. So I would lean in favor of solid snowfall totals if you do get them happening all along the East Coast. Now, the Northeast Mid Atlantic, we know, especially in Northeast New England, favored for more, but some of those places there should be keeping an eye out, even into the southeast there. The potential that if you do see snow, you could see even a little bit more than you think. It's possible. So just thought we would mention that because it's a good forecasting tool. It's analysis we want to use and not just rely on future models. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That is great stuff. And great points. Yeah, because I mean, the New Orleans storm last year was even I was surprised, honestly, how much snow they got. I was because me and Brady were talking about this last time. We were thinking, or not thinking, but he mentioned somebody always says never forecast history, and I was not going to be the one to forecast history in New Orleans, but it happened. I forecasted snow, but I really thought they would mix a lot more with sleet, so that was very impressive.
Like
The
2 inch
whole
per hour
storm was just
snowfall
interesting.
rates in New Orleans, right? I mean,
Yeah,
what for
what are
like
we doing?
3 4 hours straight? That's ridiculous. That's insanity. That's
Yeah.
insanity.
It sure is. All right, so we've talked about the setup here. Let's talk about some models now. I will say here, folks, if y'all have questions, I know you're throwing questions our way. If there are any super chats, I will immediately answer those questions, but I'm gonna have to hold off on all the other questions until we're done, and then we'll excuse me, rapid fire answer them here at the end. But if you put a super chat, it could be as little as a dollar. Then I will go ahead and immediately answer that question. But just for the flow of things, gonna keep moving along here, and I appreciate
Breathe,
y'all hanging
Gerald,
in
breathe.
tight. I know I'm getting choked up over here just thinking about it. All right, so we'll start with the model data, and we'll just get to it. So here's the latest. Is this the latest GFS or is this 12? This is 12Z actually. This is the latest GFS from 18Z, and we'll just get it going. So you'll notice right here around the evening of Saturday into Sunday, this is 7 p.m. Saturday, we're starting to get some of that moisture buildup, some of that tapping of energy that Brady mentioned. Notice you've got these greens showing up down here, and that's that trough digging down and picking up the energy and picking up the moisture, and then starting to swing it on through the southeast. Now, here's the thing with the southeast. Obviously, it's one of the big things you need is cold air. And one of the worries I have, there's kind of two worries. One is, well, precipitation, because you need, QPF, or you need something falling from the sky. And two, you need cold air. And I think for somebody, it's going to overlap. But you kind of need to find a bit of a Goldilocks zone, honestly, because you're going to probably be cold enough for snow along the 85 corridor from Charlotte, Greensboro, Greenville, down to Atlanta. But you've got a higher likelihood of having enough QPF or precipitation as it stands right now down towards the coast. So where's the Goldilocks zone, and can we find a Goldilocks zone of where they overlap? And that's the big question right now in the model data. But you can see on the GFS, it just finds it later and further north. It finds it up towards central North Carolina, central Virginia, gets at least some sort of flakes, some light accumulations in Charlotte, Greensboro. The Raleigh metro is kind of split between rain on one side, snow on the other. Central Virginia starts to get snow. Where it doesn't have snow that it did a couple days ago is out into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. It just doesn't dig and get the moisture pulled up soon enough. I will add, though, if you're in southern Georgia, for example, or if you're in the I-95 corridor of South Carolina, if I take a sounding here on Sunday morning, this is painfully close to snow and rain. It is right there, folks. It's right in between. It's probably what I would call a little bit of a white rain sounding. If you can get heavy enough precipitation rates, obviously the heavier whatever's falling from the sky is, the more gravity is going to pull on it. And that gives it less time to melt. And that also, through some other meteorological processes, helps to cool the air as it brings that snow down. And that can crash the column, as we say. And basically, you just get 32, 33, 34, sometimes even 35 or 36 degrees, and it's puking snow. We could easily get a setup like this if we get just enough cold air, which we're mighty there, we're right there into the southeast, and heavy enough rates. What I don't think you're going to get light flurries out of this if you're down here into the southeast. I think it's either going to be a light rain or a heavy wet snow is really what this kind of setup feels like to me. Now, maybe if you're right on the coast, you could get heavy rain and not change the snow if we just don't have enough cold air work on in. But it's definitely something to keep in mind there. And wow, dang, that's a lot of gift memberships. Thank you so much, Kenny. That is awesome. Somebody and everybody and their mom and their pet cousin's kangaroo, whatever.
Shout out Kenny.
Say thank you to shout out Kenny, because that's awesome. Thank you so much, Kenny. It means the world to me. So back to the model here. You can see the GFS. It's got that fine line. It's got that overlapping here. And if you're in a place like Charlotte, obviously I know a lot of you are. A lot of you are in central North Carolina. I still think we're in a good area, and I'll show you the map I made for the Carolinas here in just a moment. But then it starts to ride up the coast, and it is mighty close to the northeast. For folks up closer to Brady, it's right there. I don't think we'll have temperature problems. I think Brady would agree. I think you could be on the Jersey Shore here, and we would have to trend pretty far for there to be temperature problems here out of this. Same thing for coastal northeast. I think it's more of a temperature problem further south. At least in my opinion. Brady could have a different opinion, and that's completely fine. We'll get him here in just a second. But then the storm pulls up the coast and becomes a bigger nor'easter up for Nova Scotia. That's one model. And Brady, your thoughts on kind of some of the things I said there while I read some comments and stuff?
Well, I do think here's one concern I do have is if we do, which is a fun way to say if we do that always.
He said doo-doo.
But if we are able to do the northwest trend, one thing I do worry about is overdoing it. I really do. I think there's a little bit of limit just given how late the amplification has to happen due to the confluence that we showed, meaning that energy that's suppressing it initially. And so but I do worry about that a little bit for some coastal places. It's certainly a possibility. We just have to mention it if we are able to do this a bit here. In some places along coastal I-95 and into New England as well, it's possible you could start as some rain if we are able to again uh, models show the more amplification what they show now. Some models, just because we're gonna have an easterly wind off the coast, and anytime you do that, there's always a chance that you can pull in a little bit of warm air. And since the cold air out in front is enough, but not crazy, that marine layer with those easterly winds could override maybe just along the coast. It's possible, but I think it would be brief if it were to happen, and if we were to really do this pretty well and get a solid snowstorm here, which I think is
Hmm.
possible. Maybe wouldn't matter in the ton of, in terms of still getting solid totals, but it may limit your ceiling. So that is something to add on to your point there. But Gerald, do you also notice something a little bit? Now, we've had some fractured, some messy systems before, but anything look a little strange about that precipitation map right now that you're looking at? Anything stand out?
Oh, sorry. If I was looking at the right thing, I might be able to answer your question.
Or
Looking at the precipitation map, does anything weird stand out? Is what you're asking?
you see those two kind of
Ah,
blotches? You see those, how it's like two
on either
blobs?
side of the low?
Yes.
Yes, I do see that. Yeah.
Now, we always have a deeper moisture pull to the southeast of the low, but typically, if we do get the system, it's not so separated. And to me, that screams that there's potentially some convective feedback issues going on with the model, meaning especially the GFS in this range. It loves to
Typical.
amplify convection to the southeast. It loves to do that. And so I think that there's a chance that some of this guidance here, not only will we see changes on the model runs, but we'll also see maybe just adjustments because the model isn't resolving potentially what the atmosphere might actually produce in
Hmm.
reality. And so that's something, that we could, potentially, watch for on some of these model runs over the next day or two that they may struggle with that. So that's another thing I would add on to your points you were making there.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to interrupt you really quickly, excuse me, because we have some super chats. Zachary
Fantastic.
Lane, who I've talked to plenty of times before down in Conway, I believe, sent a super chat. So thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. And then we had two questions. We've got being able to remember the blizzard of 93/96 in Eastern PA. I know the nor'easters are hard to predict. What is a good time for a fine tune forecast? Great question. So the system right now, as it looks for the Northeast, probably I'd say Sunday, maybe as early as Sunday morning, but we'll just say Sunday in general, maybe, and then potentially even into Sunday night for some of you. Today's Thursday. I think by tomorrow night we'll have a much better idea. But again, these northwest trends can really go all the way up to the last second. So it's one of those things. My dad always tells me a story. He grew up in Philly, which explains why I'm an Eagles fan and all that. I don't know which storm it was. It might have been one in the 90s. I want to say that he very distinctly remembers day of the forecasters, and granted it was, the science wasn't where it is now. In the 90s we're forecasting, maybe some light snow showers or flurries in Philly, or he might have been in Jersey at the time. And anyway, he ended up getting snowed in at a friend's house. I got like a foot, 2 feet of snow. It was basically a full-blown blizzard. So yeah, the nor'easters, the northwest trend, even in the 90s, was a real thing. They thought maybe out to sea then, and then next thing you know, the I-95 got clobbered by a big snowstorm. Now, I don't think this will be, epic proportion, record-breaking snow. I think we would know by now if that was the case, but we could absolutely see some uptrends over the next couple of days. Brady, did you want to add to that question with your insight?
Yeah, I want to say that it's gonna be like by tomorrow night we're gonna have a clearer picture, but maybe not for the Northeast. That could
Mm,
be really
that's
tricky.
true too. Yeah.
That's a different latitude. That's 12 to 24 more hours potentially of time. So You know, and Gerald, I don't envy your forecast down there for the Southeast, man. You know, I'm going to be
It's
forecasting
tough
a
down
little
here
bit.
because it
Yeah.
kind of it forms over us almost down here. So
Yeah.
we can't watch it come in from Oklahoma per
It,
se. In the upper levels, sure, but we can't. The precipitation shield, it's either going to form over us or it's not down into the Carolinas. So
yeah,
yeah, it does make it tough.
I know people don't want to hear this, but it's probably going to be a nowcast is the reality.
Mm. Yeah.
That's just the reality with this system. It's really could New Orleans get some snow? It's possible. Like if you get precip of just enough precip to form early enough, New Orleans could get a little bit of snow. Now, is it maybe the best thing to forecast right now? Maybe not, but you just mentioned in it that some of these Gulf Coast places that were advertised, you know, you have to keep an eye on it. If all of a sudden you get precip to form out ahead, models underestimate how much precip got going out of the Gulf, and it's in the form of snow. Voila! All of a sudden you weren't forecasted, and you got something. And so it's really tricky too, really all along the southeast, because it's going to be you're going to be watching that sleet and that rain line, and it's going to be somebody on the other side. It's going to be true disappointment, and someone on the other side. It's going to be amazing happiness.
Yeah.
I worry Mitch West may be on the end of that poor depression is,
I know.
is
I'm
is
I'm
is
praying
is
for
is
him.
what we could call it. But you know, I think we need to wait a little. We just need to wait until it happens to say definitively. There's not going to be a definitive call, I think, with the Southeast, unfortunately, with the system.
Yeah.
And I don't.
And I've got to, I
Yeah.
mean, I got to work Saturday and Sunday at WCCB. So pray for me. This is my first potential wintry event in Charlotte as a TV meteorologist. But it's, yeah, it's going to be a nowcast down into the Southeast. And then luckily in the Northeast, you can kind of see how things build back down your way. In the name of time, I do want to get to the next question. This is also great for you, Brady. What are the chances of Cape Cod getting some snow? I'll quickly say I think great. I think you'll definitely get some snow. I'd say Cape Cod is in one of the better places right now with this storm. There's a world it goes too far northwest and maybe you get mixing issues, but I don't think QPF will be as big of a deal in Cape Cod. I mean, check it out here on the GFS. Yeah, it's close with the rain snow line. I would watch for that, but you could have some of the heaviest rates out of anybody. So if it's snow, could definitely be good. But Brady, obviously Massachusetts is your specialty. So if you'd like to add to that, please do.
If you're Cape Cod, you want a scraper, is what you want. You do not want this. You do not want this to do the full northwest trend here because it's going to be, I think, a little bit difficult. And then maybe you have to wait till the backside to get some snow. And in that case, if you just want some snow, then you know you're in a decent spot here. Saturday, I don't think you're going to get much, if at all, on Saturday. I think you're more going to be rain on Cape Cod, but I do worry with this event for Cape for places on especially the outer Cape. Um, you know, if you get the coastal scraper, then it's going to work out fantastic, and you're going to get a good storm potentially even. If we see the full models represent what I think we may do in that northwest trend, I would worry a little bit about some mixing or rain concerns. So that is something to watch here in model guidance. Not all shows it right now, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff there. Next question on the super chat was: do you think there is time for a northwest trend for central to northeast Georgia for snow? I absolutely do. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things that, like Brady said earlier, you might have to nowcast it. But the good thing for central, especially northeast Georgia, is you're going to have more cold air to work with. So if we get this northwest trend for precipitation, you're in a better place than some of the areas right now are precipitation wise, even for this to turn into a good thumping of snow. Again, not a guarantee, but I've seen it before, and I'm sure I'll see it again plenty of times before I eventually perish to the dirt. But yeah, I don't think you're in a bad place at all. I really think there's a world that the 85 corridor from northeast Georgia through upstate South Carolina into parts of North Carolina could kind of right now be in a sweet spot for a northwest trend. If we get the northwest trend, thermodynamically, I think you're in a much better place than areas like Florence or Myrtle Beach or Wilmington or Fayetteville or definitely Charleston or Savannah or anywhere like that. So yeah, great question there. And then Kenny again, he's really blowing it up tonight, so we appreciate that a lot.
Shout out Kenny.
That was yeah, definitely shout out Kenny. That was January 2000. Called for flurries, ended up with 22 in Albemarle. So yeah, it happens. Now, you know, the science is definitely further than it was 25, 26 years ago, but we still make mistakes. That's no secret. And That's part of the science. It's a lot like doctors. And by the way, it's always funny. Everyone always tells me, or most meteorologists, oh, it must be right, nice to be wrong half the time and keep a job. How about doctors? You know how many times I've gone to the doctor and they're like, I don't know, and then I still have to pay all that money. Ridiculous. Sorry, that's the meteorologist in me going off. But yeah, so I don't even.
Canceled.
I
Canceled,
just
Daryl.
yeah, canceled. I just work here, so I don't know. But yeah, that's a GFS model. The HER's running right now too, which I know it's not going to go far out enough to give us everything, but just out of pure curiosity, because I'm a curious creature. It's a lot more beefy for Saturday than it was earlier. See that on Saturday? Again, I know you're not the biggest HER subscriber, but
Yeah, I mean,
it's
listen,
interesting. It's beefier.
listen. There's certainly, there's certainly the potential for to do a to do some sneaky stuff with that. You're showing that jet core there, and
Mm.
we're kind of lined up to get something out of that. So, I think
One
it's
thing I will note at the end of the her run, look at the moisture building down towards Texas and into the. It must really be digging that trough. It's getting moisture all the way down towards
yeah, I see
Brownsville
that
and
back there.
Galveston, and so interesting. Just observations here, just looking at the models. Just checking the things out. But yeah, all right, making sure I'm all caught up here in the chat. All right, awesome. So we'll show the European model now. The European has kind of been, we might have the 18Z on Pivotal. I don't know if we do yet or not. Yes, we do. Awesome. Sometimes it gets delayed on Pivotal for some reason, but we can look at that. All right, so European, I'm already too far ahead into time. Okay, so I want to show you the European because the European right now is, I think, a bit of a fail mode for the Southeast. This is honestly, I would say the floor right now. I don't think we're going to trend any drier than we have. I'd be shocked if we do, at the very least. So I think the European shows a good floor, and that floor is that it's just some light rain along the southeast coastline out of this for your Sunday. It'd be a very cold light rain, and you notice it does try to switch to a little bit of snow where some of that cold air ends up catching up. But if I take a sounding here over, let's do like Charleston, you'll see the problems that I'm worried about, and this is it. There's just not a lot of cold air this far south. And I know this is where the models have the precipitation, and that's great and all, but I'm just worried about cold air down here to Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Florence, heck, Columbia. I know it's close down here in the Midlands too. If I take a sound, it's a little bit better here on the Euro. I mean, you could crash the column here and get snow in Columbia. But yeah, soundings up more towards like Charlotte are a lot better. That's a column that if you get precipitation in it, it's going to be a lot easier to get snow than areas down towards the coast. So that's why I'm just not super high right now on snow in Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, Charleston, Savannah. I'm skeptical. It might be easier up towards North Carolina, where you're a little bit further north. You might have a little bit more cold air to work with. Easier probably in southeastern Virginia, but that's something I'm worried about in terms of snow down that way. But also the European pretty dry, and then moves up the coast and notice it's a pretty big old a whiff, a bit of a miss into the Northeast, Brady. So obviously, we'll see how things end up trending. But the European, it's the King Euro, and that's why I think social media has been kind of sad today with some of the model runs. But yeah, it's an option. It's not maybe the most likely in my opinion, but I think this is a good floor right now as the European. What say you, Brady?
Nope, fake news, not gonna happen. No, I'm just kidding.
Fake news.
But yeah, it's a possibility. The coastal scraper is certainly a possibility. But I mean, you see how messy that precipitation map is. Anytime the precipitation maps are that messy, now sometimes it's a clue for what could happen. It very much is. But um, I think it's I'd be surprised if that's what we end up with. But even if it is, you notice a lot of places in the Northeast on Saturday still get a good snow event out of this, even if it's not
Mm,
major.
that is true. I think
Because
the Northeast has multiple fail safes here to at least
yeah,
get something.
that's kind of the thing with this, and that's why I've been saying since yesterday that the narrative shouldn't be how if we're gonna see snow in the Northeast and Mid Atlantic, it should be how much. And so that's why I think there's a good shot, if you get the best of both worlds here, it could end up being a pretty notable snowstorm for some people. I'm not sure about the 12Z GFS of yesterday in terms of anything like that, but
Right.
I wouldn't deny it. So I would take that in a heartbeat. But reality is, it's not a system that's going to slow down and stall and loop. It's a rather quick moving system, but it is still going to pack a punch potentially for who if we do see this, we do convert this here, Gerald, it's probably going to be a system, right? That it's not going to be a light system. It's going to be a system that even if it's quick moving, your snowfall rates are probably going to be pretty solid, unless you're right on like the edge of the system, and
Mhm.
not in those
It will
bands.
probably be a pretty sharp cutoff for sure on the
Oh
northern
yeah,
side.
you got that sharp
Um,
Arctic air coming in, and that what we say, that frontogenesis right there, that will only
mhm.
enhance that. If you want to talk about that aspect of, that's probably something we're going to be watching frontogenesis band potentially up the coast with this system potentially.
Absolutely. Question. I've got to answer this one. Andrew
Yep.
Ellswick, WX, storm chasing goat. Andrew Ellswick.
Shout
If you
out
don't know who
Andrew. Yeah,
Andrew
I know
is,
him.
he is a storm chasing legend of South Carolina. One of the best to do it. He says thoughts on snow chances in Orlando. I'm visiting this weekend and don't want to have to cancel my plans. Yeah, probably not, Andrew. Probably not in Orlando. I think Disney should be plenty warm enough to avoid snow at least. Maybe not warm for Orlando standards, but I would not be worried about snow there in Orlando. Had a super chat. Apollo says, Apollo P to be exact, says, what about far southeast Georgia / northeast Florida? And what is a northwest trend? So, that far south, if you get far enough southeast into Georgia that you're near Florida, I would really be shocked if we get snow just because of temperatures. Even if we get the precip, which I think you will, I just don't know that there's going to be enough to get snow, for example, that far south. And he's now, if you go further west towards southwestern Georgia, towards the Florida Panhandle, that's an area that could see maybe a little bit of wet snow, especially at some point. But the further east you go in Georgia, towards Florida, like in the Jacksonville area and towards Savannah and Brunswick and all that, a much lower chance of seeing snow, in my opinion. But good question. Oh, and then you ask, what is the northwest trend? So basically, northwest trend is just a lot of the times on the models, storm systems like to shift further northwest in the last little bit, and that's something to. Sorry, I'm reading one of these ads right now, which is not appropriate at all on tropical tidbits. Making sure that that's not on the screen. So yeah, just northwest trend is a lot of times models like to trend northwest in the last minute. So
Uh,
great question
Gerald, we had
there.
a question too. South Central or South, sorry, Central PA. I think more Saturday is your best chance. Central PA going to be a
Yeah,
little bit
I
harder
agree.
Sunday, Monday to be able to get, but you could get some on Saturday. So that is your best chance out of the system. You could get maybe coating to an inch, 1 to 3 inches, certainly possible across. Depends on where you live, but you could have, if you're right on the other side of the Appalachians, you could be that the snow go poof. That's also certainly
Mm,
possible with subsidence. So it may be a little bit further to the east northeast. So that would be something I would keep an eye on for there.
absolutely. All right, folks. So here's some exciting good news. The new NAM is running right now. So if we keep the super chats going long enough and I stay awake long enough, we will get to the brand new NAM, which is literally running right now. And we can try to break that down, which I know it's the NAM, but it's always fun to end things out with some candy, right? At least eye candy. Super chat asking about Columbus, Ohio. That's going to be more of a next 48 hours system there in Columbus. You can kind of see some snow showers tomorrow morning in Ohio. By tomorrow afternoon, some snow breaking out. My geography is failing me. Is Columbus in the central part of the state or Cincinnati's in the southern part? I have a
Ohio,
map to, yeah, I have to
I'm
remind
pretty sure it's
myself
in the
where the
central
state
part of the
is.
state.
That's what I
Um,
thought.
Columbus,
Double
like
check
almost dead
though. Yeah,
central.
it's like, okay, yeah, dead central. Okay, cool. So just double checking. I know Cincinnati's down south, Cleveland is up north, and then everything else in Ohio, my brain, I have to kind of think really hard about. But snow showers, yeah, tomorrow afternoon, mighty cold as well. And I think even some snow squalls. Check it out here by Saturday morning when that upper level jet starts to crank. You could definitely see how these rates become a little bit heavier. So isolated spots in the metro, I could see a couple of inches accumulating for some folks, but I think it's one of those setups that not everyone will see the same thing. You go 20 miles north of town might see more, or 20 miles south might see more, but definitely I could see a ceiling of a couple of inches in Columbus. here through about Saturday afternoon. What do you think, Brady?
Yeah, I think also, I think we mentioned it maybe, or at least I know, I think I mentioned it on my stream, is that with the flow off the lakes there, Gerald, you could get some pretty impressive, actually, snowfall rates for brief times in some of those snowfall bands. So we could see a
Hmm.
little bit of an enhancement. You're going to have some lift from the upper level jet, even though the core of the jet will not be over you. 500 millibar, the upper level low that like almost kind of tries to form at the start of the system. Um, that could help produce some enhancement along with the lakes, should help produce some like localized, like enhanced areas of lift along those snow bands moving through from basically, I think, from Ohio all the way through upstate New York. And, that could potentially allow for some accumulating snowfall, maybe some even brief intense periods for that area. And then also currently some of the blizzard conditions happening on the lakes still, right? Or the windy and snow conditions, maybe not still blizzard. We still have that ongoing in some of the upper Great Lakes region. So it's been pretty fun weather this week in terms of interesting and dynamic. And maybe now we can get that fun to happen a little further east.
Yep, absolutely. Next super chat is asking about Raleigh, Durham, Cary area, and a lot of folks up in Raleigh tune into the channel. A lot of folks up in Raleigh that now live in Charlotte. It seems like there's an exodus of people from maybe not an exodus. I know a ton of people are moving to Raleigh too, but it seems like every time I run into somebody, at least on campus at UNC Charlotte, a ton of them are from Raleigh or at least that area. So I made this map this morning and I'm sticking to it right now. I haven't changed my thought process really all that much. And I'll be honest, I just don't feel confident enough to give totals right now for specific communities. I will say this. I think someone in the Carolinas could get a couple of inches of snow out of this, but it's just going to be one of those things that you probably won't know till we're watching radar returns and we get a band to set up that's on the cold enough side to start puking snow, as I like to say. But I will show you the probabilities of seeing at least an inch of snowfall. Right now, if you're in the coastal plain of the Carolinas, from Elizabeth City down to the southeastern portion of the Raleigh metro, into Anson, Richmond County down here, and then into Chesterfield, and then to the Midlands, and all the way down to the coast. I've got about a 20 to 30% chance of at least an inch of snow accumulating. Now, 20 to 30 is not obviously very high. That means it's less likely you'll get an inch than you will, just because I think temperatures will be a problem that far south. I don't think precipitation will be as big of a problem. I think temperatures will be a problem in that light blue here, at least on the coastal side of things. But there's a world that if this Arctic high, it gets through the mountains quick enough, or the Euros may be closer to right, then yeah, we could find an inch of snow somewhere in there. But I just think that's less likely than the other option, which is we northwest trend this, and then you get to that pink zone from Charlotte to Greenville to Anderson, Lawrence, Union, Rock Hill, York County. We'll call it Gastonia, up towards Cabarrus County, up into the eastern part of the triad of North Carolina, and then up through the triangle, including Chapel Hill, and then up towards the Virginia line. Got more of a 30 to 50% chance of an inch of snow. Still not above 50, meaning it's less likely you'll see an inch than you do, but that starts to get up to the point where it's like, okay, we could maybe work with this. This is something that you start piquing your interest enough, because I think temperatures should be enough for snow, or cold enough for snow, that is. But then the question becomes, do we have enough moisture? It's such a fine tightrope walk here that we're doing with this setup that's why I don't have above 50 for anybody. And then I'm right at 50 or 40 to 60, that 50% range up to Asheville. I'll throw the mountains of Oconee, Pickens, and Greenville County in there, Highway 11 northbound, Brevard up into the high country, heck, even parts of kind of I-40 northbound, Morganton, Alexander County, North Carolina. I could keep naming a bunch of little towns here and stuff, but I think that area, we could get some Saturday morning snow, especially in the mountains, I-40 north. That maybe helps you get closer to an inch. And then if we can trend this far enough inland, which we're going to need to do some work that far, don't get me wrong, I think you'll have no temperature problems. So I think you'll be plenty cold enough for all snow. So I would not have any concerns that far inland. And that's why I have the map right now the way it is. It's why I have the numbers. I made this morning, and even after the afternoon data, I'm sticking to it because, again, I'm a meteorologist, not a modelologist. So just because models trended southeast again today, I've seen them go right back the other way plenty of times before. And that's why I'm rocking what I'm rocking there. So hopefully that answers in the best way I can for areas of Raleigh, into the Raleigh metro, and honestly, most of the Carolinas, I think. And the map should do it pretty good. So Brady, hopefully my TV map's good enough for you. Hopefully you're not shielding your eyes looking at it.
Wrong.
Right, worst map
uh,
I've ever seen.
no, but I'm looking at the NAM right now, Joe. I'm looking at the upper levels. Comparing
Hmm.
it to last run, there's only so much you can make of it. But
Correct.
at first glance, it's intriguing.
Is it?
It's intriguing the way we're holding things back on the upper levels here. Now, I'm not an expert in model runs, so maybe this makes some people less happy. I don't know. We'll see what the model end up doing, but at first glance, it looks in terms of holding our energy back and more stream separation. It's looking interesting at first glance here. So we definitely want to stay on to see what this does here.
Yes, it's going to be interesting for sure. Here's a super chat. Can we look at last year's data for Southeast for snow? Yes, I can. Let me pull that up on the fly here and let me find that. 2024, 2025 winter snowfall. All right, what do we got here? We got hmm. All right, this is going to be a little crude. It's probably not. Oh, actually, that doesn't look too bad. This was last winter, for anybody wondering. And immediately, the first thing that should jump out at you is how we have this perfect snow hole from Charlotte to Columbia down to Greenville, Spartanburg. How we do it, I don't know. I don't know how we do it, but yeah, it was a crushing of a winter. You know, you got up to a foot of snow down into New Orleans, Florida Panhandle, Western Panhandle broke every record possible. Auburn, Alabama got puked on. I mean, Savannah, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, the I-95 got dumped on. Virginia Beach got a foot of snow. And then another little kind of lower end place to note is Philadelphia down into southern New Jersey did worse than the rest of the Northeast of New England. But this was last year's map, so you know we are due for one in Columbia up to Charlotte and all points in between and over to the upstate of South Carolina and down to we'll call it Augusta or so, and then back out towards maybe like Florence and Fayetteville. Everywhere in that circle, triangle, corridor, whatever you want to call it, is absolutely due for one. Not to say that this will fix it magically, but we are due for sure. So, Brady, how much snow did you get last winter?
I want to say about 40 inches of snow, which would put us about 25 to 30 inches below average.
Dang,
Um,
that's crazy that that's that much below average.
yeah, I mean, it's look at it, 39.8 inches of snow we had last winter. So it was pretty low in terms of our usual standards. And it has been, kind of the past several. It's really 2022, since the 2021, 2022 winter where that blizzard happened that year. That was our best snowfall here. But to date on the season, we're 17.2 inches, which is our highest in a minute here. So
Interesting. So I'm reading the latest Mitch West tweet. If anybody watches Mitch West, let me know in the comments. He's a cool dude. He says, "I honestly just hope this amps up." And then he says we would all look like idiots if nothing happened. I love how honest and straight to the point he is. He's a funny dude. He is a funny dude. Right. Okay. Let's see. Back to the NAM waiting game. Where are we at, Brady? We're up to hour 25. We look
we're
at
in
the
that slow loading point right now.
yeah, it likes to stall here, and I'm dying over here, folks. I'm losing steam. I'm fighting for my life.
You can do
Really, a
it.
little bit. Kenny says he watches Mitch daily. Yes, a lot of people are saying that. Yeah, we love Mitch. We love Mitch. If you're not subscribed to him already, his channel is also linked in my description. He's awesome dude, even better human than YouTuber, and he's a great YouTuber. So that says a lot about him as a person. I've been lucky enough to meet him in person multiple times. So great guy he is. Really could not
Yeah, I don't
Could
think
not
any places. Someone was
reach
asking
better by
about
him.
school tomorrow, Joe. I don't think any places should not have school. There should be school for pretty much everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think tomorrow should be. Most of the places it's going to be snowing tomorrow. It snows all the time, so I don't think it's going to be
Yeah,
enough to
and then
cancel school.
someone asked about Wake Forest too, Gerald. Back into your area.
Yeah, Wake Forest, North Carolina. That's again just going to go back to this map with you're in that you're probably straddling that 30, 50, and 20, 30% line. So we'll call it 30 to 40% chance of an inch of snow right now in Wake Forest, I would say, which is below 50%. So keep that in mind, but also high enough that you gotta watch it. Is Mooresville supposed to get snow? If something falls from the sky in Mooresville, it'll probably be snow. You're far enough north. I think the question in Mooresville is, will anything fall from the sky at all? Right now is the question for Mooresville. Somebody's asking for you, BG, about Central PA, and I'm going to let you answer that question while I stand up for a second and go grab something.
I think we already discussed Central.
Okay. Either way, I'm going to stand up
Pennsylvania.
for a second. So chat
He
their
might
ears off.
he may have missed it, but Saturday is your day. And then we have a super chat saying we from Thomas that we might need to bully Mother Nature into giving us some snow here in Charlotte. She has beef with us for some reason. I can't help you there, Thomas. I can't help you there. You can hope and pray that you can get some snow down there in Charlotte. I know it's been rough. I know Gerald's been wishing for snow as well, but it's been a rough stretch for Charlotte. I've had many people reach out to me from Charlotte as well, hoping to convert. I really think the best thing was maybe December last winter. I think was maybe the only accumulating snow event or notable one at least, and it wasn't even that much. So it's been a little bit. Atlanta, there's the potential. There's the potential, but again, you got to guys remember in the South, it's a little tricky with that. It's going to be a very nowcast situation, so it's going to be very hard to forecast until it happens here. So it's a tricky forecast. Here, how about southeastern Virginia? Absolutely, southeastern Virginia. I think is in play for some accumulating snowfall. And I think tomorrow night we'll get a clear picture of whether or not the storm is for sure coming or not. But again, that could be a little bit tricky. But you do beware though if we do full on see guidance show the northwest trend here like we think is possible, you could always flirt with some rain. And that's just the nature of any system that rides up the East Coast. I'm sure you've lived there long enough, to know that there. I
Word.
want snow, says Kelly Elliott. Well, you're not alone. You have about 650 other people in the chat that agree with you. I think. I'm getting
I
Kershaw
just
County here,
saw
Gerald.
Kershaw County. Yeah, I'm going to respond to Thomas's real quick. Hey,
Oh,
Thomas, good
I
to see
did
you.
respond to Thomas as well, but you can
Yeah,
add on to
I
that. Add on
was
to that.
I was listening. I was judging
Yeah.
from afar, but I
December,
talked to
but
Thomas a
Gerald,
lot on
sorry,
Twitter. So.
December last year, right, was the last, like, the only accumulating, and it wasn't even that much.
We got some in January,
You had
but
some in
less than an
January too. It
inch.
was less
Less
than
than an
an inch.
inch. We had like two
Okay.
half-an-inch events that were just kind of slushy, icy, gross. But yeah, Thomas, I agree. We need to bully the atmosphere at this point. But we did get November Blizzard this year for anybody who remembers that in Charlotte, and that was cool. November Blizzard was. I'm a big fan of November Blizzard. That was quite the fun time to see snow flying around in like the first 10 days of November. But seems like so far away now. It does. It does. All right, let's get back to this here. Nam, what are we looking at? The upper levels. And where did you say when? What was I supposed to answer?
Kershaw County, South Carolina.
Kershaw. Yeah, so that's kind of between Columbia and Charlotte, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, you're probably in that Goldilocks zone-ish where you'll be maybe just cold enough for snow if the precipitation is heavy enough, and as of right now, just close enough to the precipitation to maybe get something. So Kershaw County is not in a terrible place by any means. I would just be worried with the northwest trend that you get too warm. And miss out on the snow altogether. Is Statesville getting snow? Statesville again is somewhere I think it'll be, cold enough. It's just a matter of if something will fall from the sky is the big question right now. So according to what one of the Charlotte meteorologists said, last year was the first year in a very long time that Charlotte didn't get any snow. Well, Bella, I think they probably lied to you because we haven't had an inch since 2022. So, and we got snow last year. I mean, it was a trace or half an inch or something, but it's been a while since we've had an actual snow here in Charlotte. Appreciate the dubs, Film Quest 23. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Hickory, North Carolina, you can actually see some snow Saturday morning. I wouldn't be surprised. Probably wouldn't stick or amount to a whole lot in Hickory Saturday morning, but could be enough to, be interesting and fun and exciting and all of that fun stuff. I would definitely keep a watchful eye on Hickory Saturday morning, and then if everything trends, back northwest, you could be in business for Sunday. Thomas says haven't had an inch until Sunday. I hope there's like I said, I've got it at 30 to 50% in Charlotte right now. I think if it can just start, it might start as rain, but if it can fall hard and heavy enough for long enough, we can get it. I don't think temperatures will be as big of a deal in Charlotte. Now, it might be one of those 85 things, or maybe, you go down towards Monroe, you have some temperature problems, but we'll see. Is the NAM more accurate than the Euro? Here's the thing. No is an easy answer, but the NAM is good at some things. The NAM is really good with temperature profiles, and where it stands right now, it would be more in line with what I expect with the northwest trend that I would assume would come between now and the actual start of this system. So that's something to absolutely note and absolutely keep in mind. And it's running right now, folks. So I'm just waiting for it to come in, and then we'll analyze it, and then we'll probably end it after that. But NAM's also, again, showing Saturday. If you're up in the Northeast, this is Saturday morning. Heck, if you're in West Virginia, Kentucky, maybe Tennessee, get some back-end flakes. Maybe rain changing to snow there. Tries to get some snow into the mountains of North Carolina Saturday morning. So what about New Jersey? I think New Jersey could see some snow on Saturday for sure. Maybe even Sunday, depending on how things trend.
I mean, there could be a good southern extent there to the snow on Saturday, even, Gerald. You can kind of see that
Yeah.
shown. I've kind of mentioned it on stream last night, I think, as well, that it could extend down, especially those elevations down there across the Appalachians, and even some non-Appalachian places to the west into the south. So I'm not sure we'll make it over the mountains, unfortunately, but that would be something to keep an eye on. That even if it's not a lot, places that don't get it a ton, it can be fun and festive.
Brady, we have a super chat for you. You want to answer that one? It's literally got your name in it.
Look at this. I'm becoming a star. Question for Brady. For Brady, thank you, Lydia. Cape Cod often gets snow or a messy mix. Is the factor that we stick out in the Atlantic I'm assuming a factor, not a factory, and it absolutely is, because when you have that marine influence, right? Think about it. Your land, your surface temperature is oftentimes the ocean does not. It's very hard to freeze. I think maybe 2015, way back then, we froze during the wintertime, but the ocean often, most of the time, does not freeze up because of the salt water. It's very difficult to see that to happen. At least
I,
in
on the
our
other
region.
hand,
In our
do freeze
region.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
So
In our
I
region,
freeze up.
in our region, it's very difficult to get that to happen. So you're constantly, anytime you get a wind off the ocean, that's going to force warmer air to move over that colder air, and that oftentimes can make it rather difficult for some events for Cape Cod to stay all snow. So you really need to a lot of times hope on a low pressure system that is not necessarily so close to you, or you hope on the second half of a system for a dynamic, like, one of those massive blizzards, that you get. And that's usually your best chance where you're pulling in so much cold air, it doesn't matter that much. So hopefully that answers. I try to give a good answer because the super chat support for Gerald there. So hopefully that
Well,
helps.
that'll get sent to you anyway, so don't worry. We'll ship that paperwork, and Did everyone hear me well still? I think I messed my microphone up a little bit. Does I sound normal? I sound audible and loud.
You sound very clear, but I can tell you're eating something that you're enjoying
You
right
know,
now.
strawberry cake, $2.50 a slice from Food Line. Let me tell y'all this. Y'all hear about these monks walking around? Love them. Love the monks. Love mind over matter. Love that. But it took me an hour to get back from the grocery store this evening because I guess they're walking through. And I even knew they were, but I didn't think the traffic was going to be that bad. It literally took me an hour to get from the Food Line that's at most 2 miles from my apartment. So I was sitting in there I ate the first half of this cake in my car. Just sitting there in traffic. Love the monks. Love them. I know they went through Colombia not long ago too, but yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff. Maybe, you know what? Maybe the monks will bring the snow to Charlotte. I should have asked him. Darn, I should have been like, hey, y'all, I know y'all got some, I believe in y'all and y'all should believe in me. And let's believe together that we can get an inch of snow in Charlotte, please. That rhymed almost. Was that good? Was
Sure,
that good? I don't know.
of course.
Huh. All right. Monks cannot touch other people. I did not know that actually. So that's weird. Brady, some people are saying you sound a little robotic. You want to recall? I think you sound fine on my end. I don't know why it's on their end, but I don't know if you want to just like.
You know, they may be making fun of me as well. You ever consider that? That I sound very monotone. It's
I don't
certainly.
think you do. I mean, you maybe sound monotone. Well, no, because somebody said you sound glitchy. So not like I don't think they meant like actually. I don't think they were roasting you. Let's see. He's gonna rejoin here. We'll see if he sounds a little bit better. What is this? Oh my goodness. What are the odds? My friend literally just sent me this. Look at this, everybody. Hope I highly doubt he cares. Look at what he just sent me. It's the monks. Wow. See, they know. They know that I was talking about them. That's crazy. That's insane stuff. Are you back, Brady? I think so.
Yeah, I just disconnected and
I think you sound normal.
reconnected to try.
Okay, I think you're good. Yeah. All right. So everyone, hopefully you can hear Brady better now. Or maybe do I sound robotic or everyone let me know if we sound normal. Sorry, we're doing some
Were you still saying
much better,
something or
they
no?
said.
Okay, there you go.
No,
Okay.
no. So, I know I probably should have kept talking. I was like, "Can you
Yeah.
hear me?" It's funny. Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. NAM's still running, y'all. We're almost there. We're at hour 42. And I'm actually curious if I have the new graph model yet. Let me see if the giraffe is in.
The South's favorite model, the graph.
Yeah, the giraffe can be mighty useful. I think TV, I think this is open for the taking. I don't think anyone's going to get mad at me if I look at this.
The in-house model, though, it's special.
It is. It's mighty special. Let's see. I'm looking at. Sorry, y'all can't see it because it would take a whole process for me to show, and I also don't want to get in trouble. So let's see. I still don't think it's going out quite far. And actually, well, let me just.
Gerald, Sean says you have cool eyeballs. Have you ever
Do
heard
I have
that
cool
before?
eyeballs? Yeah, all the ladies tell me that all the time. Like, Gerald, you have the coolest eyeballs ever. But no, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. It's the I don't know what it is actually. It's just the genetics. Although I wish they worked better because true story, y'all. I got sick back in and the graph's not quite ready. It doesn't look like. I got sick around Thanksgiving with some sort of virus or something that beat the shiz out of me for like all of December. Like the whole first half of December, I just felt off and wrong. And then I started feeling like a little bit better, but then like the vision in this eye got all messed up, and I've been in and out of every hospital possible for the past like month, getting every possible test done. And they're like, "You're fine, everything's fine." I'm like, "Well, I don't feel fine, But I actually think I might slowly be finally getting a little bit better. I think, and I've got to go to a neurologist on Monday so they can give me the final thumbs up that I'm good to contribute to society. Although I'm doing that anyway. But yeah, that's been a very annoying start to 2026 for me, as blurry vision in one eye and feeling kind of weak a little bit. But that's now that everyone has my medical history, we can move on hopefully. Let's see. NAM might be the slowest running model of all time. I just want everyone to know that. It might be. Any chance for Spartanburg County? Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, if we get the precipitation to trend up enough, I think you'll be cold enough in Spartanburg County for some wet snow. It won't be like, 29 or anything. It'll probably be like 32, 33, maybe 34 or even 35 and snowing. But yeah.
Hey, Gerald, I think we should mention too, there's the potential, I think, for an Arctic outbreak next week as well.
Is there?
Yeah.
Honestly, I have not looked past the storm. Let's talk about that then. Why
for
the
northern, central, and northeast U.S. Probably not maybe not the south as much, but I'm not. If you look at temperatures next week, it certainly looks like we're going to get pretty cold. Potentially, there's some sort of. Just thought I would mention it on your platform, so yeah, your people know. We mentioned it last night on our stream, but very impressive, the cold air that gets brought down. Just not sure how far south it gets.
Woo! Look at that. Also, even around like 10 days, yeah. Is this the one you're talking about, I assume?
No, not even.
Or are you talking about the one before that? You're talking about this one?
The one before that, next Tuesday.
Yeah, okay.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, I do think in the long range, guys, that we're going to have big shots of cold air on the way. This is obviously just the operational hero, so take it with a grain of salt. But I think the snow track probably going to shift a little bit north in about a week for the Ohio Valley and the Northeast. Could get big snow here as we end out January, and then could come back south as well. But if we look at the Euro height anomaly map, let's see. I hate that. I hate with the Euro ensembles on Pivotal. You can't go continental. You can only go national. But yeah, big old dip there, and then another dip here, and then another dip there at the end, back to the east. So yeah, I think I definitely winter's not going to be done after this at all. I think plenty of time to go.
Maybe even in theory, somewhere in the eastern U.S., a storm threat later next week is possible too. It's pretty good ensemble support for that as well. And you and I were talking before about the teleconnection from the Bering Strait, but yeah, there's seems some ensemble support, like widespread, not just one.
Here, I like this
across the central and eastern United States for a pretty what could be a high impact storm.
Absolutely. If I live in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Hudson Valley of New York, PA, Northern Jersey, I am not all that worried if I don't score on this weekend. I think there's plenty of opportunities ahead for you folks. Now, further south might need a little bit more work, but that can be done. We can arrange that. We can work on that. We have the tools.
NAM run looking interesting for at least the mid-Atlantic and Northeast here. I'm not sure if the South. It's not necessarily more dig on this run, but we are pulling up more moisture on this run, a little bit higher height lines, and the confluence out ahead backs off just a little bit. That's what you want to call it. That's what I'm calling it.
Works for me. We're up to Saturday night now. We're almost there, everyone. We've just got to stall probably another like 10 minutes. Hopefully y'all like these live streams because I like doing them. There are other things that I should probably be doing. I have other work piled up next to me over here, but hopefully y'all like it because it does take some time. But and we're very grateful that Brady's able to come in.
And Gerald, can I shamelessly plug that I will be going live tonight after this as well?
Please do. Please do. Yes.
Probably about um, in an hour or two, probably, roughly, give or take, somewhere around. Sometimes life happens a little bit, but somewhere around that time, somewhere probably 10:30 to 11:30 ish, I'll be going live tonight. So especially if you really love the in-depth analysis, you like the heart, you like to know why, what's happening. That will be a good spot. We had a good amount of people in there last night. And since I'm not as popular as Gerald at the moment, there's a good chance I'm not going to miss your questions as well. So especially Mid Atlantic, Northeast, but also we had plenty of people from the South and Southeast last night. Gerald, some of your minions came on
Awesome.
in,
I
so
bet. Good. Good.
it was awesome. Yeah.
You've got a super chat that says, "Love the channel. Allentown, PA has been in a snow drought, but I'm manifesting some good snow. God bless y'all, and God bless you too, Mason." It looks like, yeah. I think Allentown's in a great place for the the rest of January after this storm, even. And again, I think Saturday could get some snow. I think um, definitely Allentown's in a good place for Saturday. And like I said, even in the 7+ day range, looks pretty good there. Somebody said check out the FV3. The FV3 is also running right now. So FV3 model coming in hot for the Northeast on Saturday. Yes, it is. You can see it. Those are some of those snow bands moving in through northern Jersey and Long Island and Hudson Valley and Connecticut. Some good snow squalls back in the Ohio Valley. Looks pretty good.
Gerald, I'm not sure how far your NAM has made it. Mine on Weatherbell's made it to hour 51, but on the 250 jet on this run, something I'm noticing, it's the height lines obviously you can see are a little bit higher out in front. The dig, it doesn't look to be all that different. But one thing I notice is if you look at the upper level jet, it's pulling up a little bit more moisture here on this run. You can see it a little bit pulled, a little bit more is getting pulled in out of front. So initially, I think this might be a little bit more amplified, regardless of the result. Shocker, NAM and amplification. You never hear those two
Weird.
words
Never seen that before.
together, but it's a really interesting factor here, right, Joe? We were talking about that it's not just if you amplify this, it's almost like double, right? Because you're moving it a little bit more west, but you're also increasing the amount of precipitation and how heavy those bands are going to be with this. So it's almost like twofold here, right? It's almost like it's a bit of exponential because you're not just moving it maybe a little bit further northwest, you're also you're adding more precip here with this. So it's kind of a interesting dynamic that could really make some forecasts busts here for some people, just in if especially if they're just going off some guidance.
Yeah, definitely. It's coming in, everyone. The NAM is a. Oop, we got 2 new frames here. Oh, we got more than that. Oh, here we go. You can see the moisture field building. Oh, is the magical model going to be right? Probably not exactly, but we won't see what it says anyway. The NAM giveth and the NAM taketh. Mitch West, absolutely. Yep,
Yeah,
that should have been my senior quote in high school. Should have put that in the yearbook.
that would have made you the king of the court for college. Absolutely.
I ran into no true story. I ran into somebody. Funnily enough, I went to high school with in Charlotte like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the first thing that she brought up was the weather. I was like, it never leaves me. Everywhere I go, I'm just the weather. It's all I am. It's funny, but no, I've been a nerd for quite some time. Everybody, this is not a new thing, but I like to think my years of nerdom prepared me well for the workforce. So there's a it's funny whenever you're in like middle school and high school, everyone cares about like who's cool and stuff like that. Then you get to college and suddenly it's like who has a job, who is getting hired. That's what most people start to care about more so. But
And one thing
I
with
agree.
the NAM too, Gerald, I'll just add them
Yep.
before you make your next point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that even if sometimes it's not always accurate in what it produces as the end result, but sometimes there can be a hint of truth on maybe what the rest of the zero Z guidance is going to do, right? You can sometimes
Yeah.
see maybe
Totally.
it's adjusting with the piece that maybe you're going to see with the rest of guidance. And for me, what I notice on the NAM is it's adjusting that back edge piece that I was telling you before, especially. where it's, kind of, instead of pressing on it, it's kind of pulling it back a little bit more, so it doesn't press on the system, allows those height lines to build. That was really something you and I were talking about just before the stream that, I was going to be paying close attention to, and it's something that the AI models are showing a more favorable stream interaction on the backside, meaning those two pieces. For those that don't know what that means, just those two pieces are interacting with each other. Literally, what it sounds like, and that could mean potentially a little bit easier for those height lines to build, more precipitation. Hence, people refer to it the northwest trend. So something that
Yeah.
I'm watching.
And you can see why the NAM has so much precip. I mean, it's just the orientation here. You've got a lot of flow coming in out of the Gulf, out of those very warm waters that Brady talked about earlier. On top of the fact that you've got a lot of upper level diffluence. Now, again, not as much as if this system were neutrally or negatively tilted, but where you see all these orange colors and these red colors, where those are moving towards, which in this case is in this direction thanks to the streamlines on the map, that's where the lift is going to be. You've got the lift on top of the moisture pool, and that's why you're getting, if I can get back to it, that's why you're getting an output kind of like this, although, again, it's still loading, but you see how it's starting to pull that moisture up? This is by 1 a.m. Sunday, at least on the NAM model, which, again, far probably from the truth and the whole truth, but we're looking for trends here and things like that. This is the first of the 0Z suite guidance, and we're not going to say it for all of it, but we are going to get through the NAM here, which has just got probably
I will. If you want
yeah,
to,
Brady will
if
be.
you
Yes,
want,
go to Brady's stream. He will.
I will. I will be. I will be talking about it for sure.
Middle Tennessee, probably not much out of this one. Maybe Saturday as the front's working through. You can get some. You can see rain here tries to change to snow in Middle Tennessee. This would actually be overnight Friday into Saturday. Excuse me. But other than that, probably not much. Maybe a squall or two of snow can make it down out of Kentucky, but not going to be a big event for Middle Tennessee out of this one. Appreciate the question, though. Had 15,000 views so far tonight. Awesome. We had a max of almost, or yeah, more than 900 people in here at one point. We're still at 650. Awesome. So I really appreciate y'all joining in tonight. I can't wait for the day that we've got an actual classic full-blown nor'easter moving up the coast. I'm sure that the numbers will be through the roof. Y'all love snow just as much as I do. So, we've all got that in common. But it's very grateful to have y'all in here this evening nonetheless. Iowa, some scattered snow showers and squalls over the next couple of days, really, in Iowa as it stands right now. You can see here there on the NAM. Got some snow showers even right now. Then overnight tonight, and then tomorrow afternoon, a couple snow showers potentially coming and going throughout the state. Okay, here's the NAM. There she is. She's doing it. Still showing kind of what it did earlier. It's a tad bit, it looks like the orientation is different this time. Yeah. I will say, if there's a trend today that I buy, this is looking less good for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and arguably parts of Georgia. Because see how the orientation changes here, folks? See how it goes from this to more this? Or I guess to mirror it, it goes from this to more this. It's probably due to the tilt differences, I would assume, but
mainly just being held back less, right? I mean, that's really the biggest difference. Is you can see that the confluence out ahead, instead of pressing on the system more, it's amplifying and holding back, and it's rising those height lines, and as a result, the southern end of that system can't hold back as more. It's really just like being, instead of more horizontal, it's trying to work more vertical. And that piece kind of has to work a little bit further. That southern edge has to work a little bit further up the coast versus, and it's why this works out better for, more towards, instead of the Gulf Coast, works out a little bit better for Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, and especially the Northeast, as you can see, in my opinion.
Is good for the Northeast, definitely.
Because look at the 250, Gerald. If you compare run to run on that, you'll see the difference run to run here on this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can see the tilt change there and the way it gets held back, like you said.
And one thing that we're not lacking that we didn't talk about really, Gerald, is we talked about it with the Saturday part 1. Part 2, the upper level jet with this, man, it is going to be dynamic. So that's why we're saying that even though it may not be a long time, it's not here for a long time, just a short time. it could really produce some pretty impressive snowfall rates if we are to if we are lucky enough to convert this, like I think we can here potentially. We could see some pretty impressive snowfall rates for those that get into the banding. Really, it's not just limited to the Northeast, even into the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic could see some impressive banding. It just wouldn't be for long, is the thing.
Mm.
Northeast has a little bit longer time frame with this. That's the main difference.
Yeah. For another pro or positive here for the Southeast, if you're in the Carolinas, you are in a favorable section of this jet. You're in the left entrance, and that's where you would have enhanced rising motion. So you got that going for you from a jet dynamic standpoint. As I see it here on the latest NAM map, you go out further ahead, and yeah, you can see that you're going to be in that left exit region through much of the start of Sunday and overnight Saturday. So something to definitely keep in mind there from an upper level standpoint. And then, yeah, you could just see it all. We had a super chat I forgot to mention. Yes, we've got DPW worker slash plower here, excuse me, and always follow your posts. Appreciate that. Thank you. X Black Jeep X. Thanks for tuning in. Means the world to me. And thank you so much for that super chat. Helps me continue to run this channel and continue to pay my bills, which the older I get, somehow get higher. I don't know how that works. Actually, I do know how that works. It's just how life is. But so the NAM does still show a good little band of snow in Charlotte up into the Triad. This run's definitely better for more mid-Atlantic folks than typical Southeast areas. Not as good for Georgia. Not as good for Alabama, Florida. And again, it's just one model. We'll see how this works. But it's a good little burst of snow for Charlotte. Up into Raleigh's close. Raleigh's kind of on that rain snow line with this run. And then you can see how that cold air tries to catch up and back build a little bit here in the NAM. Yeah, I think this run of the NAM is a little more realistic than the last run. This is probably more what I would lean right now. A quick burst of snow on the outer edge of this. And it's earlier. It's more Sunday morning here. This is Sunday morning. And then you go and again, it gets very close to the Northeast. Starts as a good band of snow up into southern Jersey and Long Island, and then kind of rides the corridor there. So, Brady, you got any big takeaway from the NAM here before we?
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, the upper level jet is just what stands out on this run. This is going to be a more favorable. Again, we'll preface this by saying the 60-hour NAM does not matter that much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But we're just,
important.
it's just, that's all we have. It's the latest guidance. So sometimes there's a hint of truth in what you're looking at. Model guidance in general is awful for nailing down the specifics. But it's because they oftentimes get misused. And so models are a really valuable tool. We love models, obviously the weather kind especially, but we love weather models, and that they're a very valuable tool, but they can get misused. And so the key is, just can you find a hint of truth of maybe what's going on there? Is there something you can pinpoint? Maybe there's a trend in the model itself. So, and especially the NAM, this far out, the farther you go with the NAM, it's like the 84-hour. Yeah, the 84-hour NAM is the equivalent to like the 200-hour GFS. Maybe not that far, but it's pretty far. Like it's like a week out on the GFS, maybe. Like it's just the NAM cannot. It's just the model was not designed to do well. It's a mesoscale short-term model. It was designed honestly to do just more with banding, to be honest, than anything else. Short-term banding, and so that's really what it's designed for. And so that's why you see those crazy tropical cyclone runs. You see those crazy winter storm runs sometimes in the long range. It just amplification bias on the model to whenever it sees that vorticity, it just wants to take off and run with it. So, but my takeaway is I would rather see the model show snow than not, but it's not the end of the world if it doesn't. That's
right.
kind of my takeaway.
Absolutely. All right. So before we end this, I'm going to give the good old graph one final look just because it maybe has run. Let's see. It might be the new one. And then obviously everyone, like we said already, Brady will be. Yeah, the new graph looks just as boring as it has. It's not much new there. So we'll follow that into tomorrow as well and see where that gets us. But all right, folks, we're gonna end it here. So we appreciate it. We went like not too far from 2 hours tonight. So I'd like to think that if we didn't answer your question in that 2 hour span, then I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Because obviously, if I answer a question for Raleigh and you live in Holly Springs, odds are it's going to be pretty close, my answer. So, if you live in Concord, North Carolina, and we answer something for Charlotte, probably follow under the same umbrella there. So, all right, folks. Well, again, Brady, subscribe to his channel. He will be live tonight at, I think you said a couple hours, about
an hour
or
or two from now. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the link to his channel is pinned in the comments. It's also in the description. It's on my channel. If you just go to my channel and you go down to the bottom, it says great follows. And then he's like the first or second name there. So all that fun stuff. So yeah, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow with another video, and subscribe if you haven't. All the fun things. Thank you so much for the super chats, the memberships, the activeness in the crowd tonight. I appreciate all of y'all. All right, y'all have a great night, and we'll see y'all next time.